कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजनरंजन
यशोदानंदना ब्रजजनरंजना
यमुनातीरावनचारी
यमुनातीरावनचारी
जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव
कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपी जनवल्लभा
गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजनरंजन
यशोदानंदना ब्रजजनरंजना
यमुनातीरावनचारी
यमुनातीरावनचारी
जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव
कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमान डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमान डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन धाम की जय ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवी धाम की जय कृष्ण भक्त प्रदायिनी श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to assembled devotees all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Hare Krishna we will be discussing from Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 text 5 and 6 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ॐ नमो
Shloka and read the translation and purport. We'll also read the sixth one, just the translation, not the purport, in the interest of time. Is it displayed? Uddharet atmanatmanam
उद्धरेतात्मनात्मानं
natmanam avasadhayet
नात्मानं अवसादयेत्
atmaiva hi atmano bandhur
आत्मनैयात्मनो बन्धुः
atmaiva ripuratmanah
आत्मनैवात्मनः
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं
नात्मानं अवसादयेत्
नात्मानं अवसादयेत्
आत्मैव हि आत्मनो बन्धुः
आत्मैव आत्मनो बन्धुर्
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं
उदरेदात्मनात्मानां
नात्मानम् अवसाधये
नात्मानाम् अवसादयेत्
आत्मैव हि आत्मनो बन्धुः
आत्मैव हि आत्मनो बन्धुर्
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः उदरेत् आत्मनात्मानाम् नात्मानाम् अवसादयेत् आत्मैव हि आत्मनो बन्धुर् आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
उद्धरेत् आत्मनात्मानं नात्मानम् अवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
माताजी's
उदरेतात्मनात्मानाम् आत्मानाम् अवसादयेत् आत्मैव हि आत्मनो बन्धुर् आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः आत्मना
by the mind.
by the mind
Atmanam,
Atmanam
the conditioned soul.
the conditioned soul
The conditioned soul.
the conditioned soul
Avasadhayet,
avasadayet
put into degradation.
the conditioned soul
Bandhu,
bandhu
friend. Atma,
atma
mind.
mind
Eva,
eva
certainly.
certainly
Ripu,
ripu
enemy.
enemy
Atmana,
atmana
of the conditioned soul.
of the conditioned soul.
Translation: one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Purport: the word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul, depending upon different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nescience. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature. And in this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That is, that one must do this. It is also said, Mana eva manushyanam. You don't have to. Karanam bandhu mokshaya. Bandhaya visaya sangho muktyai nirvishayam manaha. Sorry, I need my glasses. So, for man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from sense objects is the cause of liberation. Amrita Bindu Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind, which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, is the cause of supreme liberation. I'll quickly recite the shloka and translation for 6 and then we'll discuss. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana nijjita anatmanastu shatrutve vartet atmaiva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. Shri Chaitanya manobhishtam sthapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayyam dadati swapadantikam. Namaom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining for the Sunday ISKCON of Philadelphia Love Feast program. Today we are celebrating Bhadra Purnima, and we'll hear about that from 6. And from now until close to 6, we'll discuss about the Bhagavad Gita, text 5 and 6. And before I speak, I seek blessings and permission from all the Vaishnavas here, so I can try to repeat what I have heard. So 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, anybody remembers the title? Dhyana Yoga, yes. And the main subject matter here is Ashtanga Yoga. You know, at this time, majority of the living entities in this material world are conditioned living entities. And instead of being linked to the Supreme, what are we linked to? Most of us?
Sense objects.
To matter. We are linked to matter. Yeah. So, like this, you see a vehicle, which is hooked to something, right? So similarly, our false ego or ahankar, we all are hooked to this material world because of our false ego or ahankar, and it's so difficult to come out of it. Very difficult to come out of it. Yeah. So because of that, because we are hooked to this material world through our false ego or ahankar, we are taking birth again and again and again and again. Yeah. So then what do? Where do we attach it to? Sir? So you remove this hook, and where do we attach it to? Not attaching it to anything is not an option. So Krishna says here, you attach. So either you attach it to matter or you attach it to spirit. Yeah. So we attach, we remove this and attach it to Krishna or to God. Yeah. So when we remove, then that is what we just discussed as renunciation. And when we attach it to Krishna or God, then that is yoga. Yeah. So these are two simultaneous processes. Yeah. You cannot do one without the other. So Krishna says, in the previous verses, both sannyas and yoga are the same. Right? Detaching from the material objects and attaching to Krishna. Yeah. So a devotee who is practicing Krishna consciousness, that's why he is simultaneously both a sannyasi and a yogi. So even though one may be in a householder life, but because he is practicing this highest activity, so simultaneously, actually he is considered better than a sannyasi. Yeah. So we also discussed one other point last week. Yoga is like anybody remembers? In the purport it was discussed. Ladder. Yes, yoga is like a ladder. Yeah. So yoga is like a ladder that takes us from the material world to the spiritual world. And there are different steps. Right now you see the staircase can take you to the first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor. The staircase remains the same. It's just different you get off. Yeah. So same way is the yoga. Yeah. So different names. So different stages are given different names. Yeah. You all follow me? Yeah. Okay. So so different points of elevation on this ladder of yoga are given different names like karma yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. Yeah. So but ultimately all practices of yoga are meant to link to God. Yeah, all practices. Yeah. So we'll come to bhakti yoga, but other than bhakti yoga, in all other practices, you have to really, strictly practice this renunciation. Yeah, which is to detach ourselves from the sense objects. But bhakti is so sublime in itself, the Bhagavatam explains, bhakti is so sublime, automatically you will be detached from sense objects. Automatically jnana will come, Krishna says, right? If one performs bhakti to Krishna or Vasudeva, then automatically vairagya, renunciation comes. Knowledge or jnana will come. Yeah? So that's why a devotee is called as a sannyasa and a yogi. Yeah? So, and in the fourth verse, in the previous verse of this chapter, Krishna culminated this talk by about the person who comes to this stage. What was that word? Anybody remembers? Yoga Arudha. Is that the word? Yoga Arudasya. Yeah. So the beginning and the end. Yeah. Now here in this verse, Krishna is talking about the mind in these two verses. What is the purpose of the mind and how can we control the mind? Is the mind our friend or enemy? And the reason why this is important here is because, as Prabhupada explains, yoga is ultimately connected to the mind. Yeah? It's connected to the state of the mind. Yeah? So Krishna is talking about the importance of controlling the mind in these two verses and the symptoms of the one who has controlled the mind. Yeah? So purpose of the yoga here is to control the mind in this chapter that Krishna is discussing. So the question comes up, why? Why is it necessary to control the mind? Why? Anyone?
Because mind is the one which drives this material body.
Mind is okay. Anyone else? Yes, Prabhu?
To focus around Krishna.
To focus around Krishna? Yes, yes.
To control it so you go somewhere. You have to get somewhere to control the mind.
Yes. So it is explained that mind is the instrument. Mind is the instrument through which we can see or understand God. I'll repeat, mind is the instrument through which you can see or understand God. So it's important to know what is the purpose of the mind and why to control the mind. Yeah. So like if you were to have a very sophisticated electronic device, yeah, if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know the purpose of it, chances are you might damage it. Chances are you could hurt yourself and most likely waste all the money that you have spent on buying it. Yeah? So mind is an instrument. Yeah? And it is meant for a beneficial purpose. For a beneficial purpose. And if we use it for this beneficial purpose, then mind will be our best friend. Otherwise, it can be the cause of our misery. Yeah, the mind is an instrument to see and or understand God, see and understand God. And if we use it for that beneficial purpose, then the mind becomes our friend. Otherwise, the same mind becomes the cause of our misery. Yeah. So, but before we go into these details, just so that we understand a little bit about this body, yeah, there is a true self, which is the Atma or the soul, and then there are two superficial selves, right? Can you guess what they are? The true self, we all know, I am this soul, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yeah? But there are also two superficial selves around the soul. Yes? But mind, intelligence, and ego or false ego, where are they? In the subtle body. Yes, so subtle body is one of the superficial cells which covers the Atma, and there is this gross body. Yeah? So there is one self, true self, which is the Atma, and then you have a subtle body, and then you have this gross body. Yeah? So the gross body is this outer body covering, what we call as death. When this body is destroyed, that's what you call as death, right? But the covering of the soul, which is this subtle body, which comprises of the mind, intelligence, and false ego, is traveling along with the soul from one body to the other body. Every time we change the body, this subtle body, which comprises of the mind, intelligence, and false ego, is traveling with it. And this mind is the storehouse of all our desires, our previous experiences, our lamentations, our fears. So many things are stored in this mind. Yeah? So Srila Prabhupada gives one nice explanation that I just read this. Mental existence transforms into a tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity. Mental existence transforms into a tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity. So, this example is given of TV stations send all these signals. Can we all see the signals around us? No, but as soon as you turn on the TV, you can see all the images, right? So same way, the soul is wandering with the subtle body around it when this gross body is destroyed, and I want this particular body to fulfill all the desires. And the gross body is like an instrument for the subtle body to exercise its desires. Yeah, all the desires are there, so it needs a gross body to fulfill those desires. So that's how the soul with the subtle body gets a gross body. Yeah. So like that, we come into this life with X number of desires, and then depending on how we live this life, it would multifold into 10 desires, 10 times more or 100 times more, and we keep changing bodies. Yeah. The reason I mentioned this is to understand the subtle body and where the mind is. Yeah. So Krishna here is using the word Atma for mind. Yeah. Many times, or generally, where is this word Atma used, or for what? For the soul. But here Atma is used for the word mind. Yeah. But Prabhupada also writes in the purport that Atma can mean different in different circumstances. It can also mean the mind, it can mean the soul, it can also mean the body. Yeah. Generally it means the soul, but here it is Atma. So Atmanatmanam means with the help of the mind, one must elevate himself or deliver himself from this miserable condition of life. Atmanatmanam. Avasadayet. One should not degrade oneself with the help of this mind. Yeah. one should not fall to lower level of consciousness using this mind. So Krishna describes that this instrument, that's why I was saying mind is like an instrument. So this instrument should be used to elevate the consciousness of the conditioned soul and not to degrade it. Yeah. So further what he says, Atmaiva hi Atmano Bandhu. So the Atma or mind in this case can be Bandhu. What is the meaning of Bandhu?
Friend.
Friend, yes, friend. Yeah. Or Ripuratmana, who means enemy. Yeah. So we see mind can be our enemy or friend. Now how? So is mind, the question comes, so is our mind our friend or enemy? Yeah. That's our choice. That is our individual choice. Depending on how I use that mind, how I use this instrument. Yeah? Because from time immemorial, the conditioned soul has been associated with this material nature. So Krishna says, mind must be trained in such a way that it can be used to deliver oneself from the cycle of birth and death. Yeah? So many lifetimes we have been entangled with the mind and the senses, and both are so strong, right? So powerful. And the mind has got involved with the false ego. And what does the false ego wants to do? What is the function of the false ego? False ego wants to enjoy. False ego wants to enjoy this material world. So false ego, what he does? False ego makes the pure spirit soul identify with his gross body. The false ego is what makes the pure spirit soul identify itself with the dead matter. And that is the cause of misery. That is the cause of misery. So, because of this strong false ego wanting to enjoy, and since the mind wants to be involved with that, mind also becomes totally entangled. You see how the mind gets entangled? So, Prabhupada explains in the purport that mind has to be trained so that it's not attracted to the glitter of this world. Prabhupada writes, attracted to the glitter of this world. You step out, whether you turn on the TV or social media or you go to the mall, everything appears is being designed in such a way to catch our attention, right? You walk into the mall or everything is so deceptively attractive. The whole goal seems to distract us from the real purpose of life. Isn't that true? That's the whole agenda. It looks like everything that is being done around. So, and because I'm identifying myself with this body, I think, oh, maybe this will give me some happiness. Maybe this will give me some pleasure. And I get distracted from the real purpose of life. So, the point is, as long as I want to enjoy with the sense objects in this material world, it will lead to bondage and degradation. So the point is, the mind that is absorbed in the thoughts of enjoying this material world is the cause of misery. So that mind which is absorbed in the thoughts of enjoying this world is my enemy. Yes?
Yep.
Right? So, because mind is what is the cause of us taking birth again and again. The other important point is, generally when we talk about enemy, let's say, I don't know, maybe some of us at some point in time in life may have considered somebody as an enemy. Yeah? What is the worst an enemy can do to us? Yes? Kill us, right? Kill us. Excellent. The worst an enemy can do is kill us. And done. This body, he killed. Next life, I don't know where he is, where I am, who he is, gone. Right? Over chapter is closed. But look at the mind. Look at the mind, what it is doing. Mind is torturing me in this life. Not only that, it is the cause, if that mind engages in sense gratification, is becoming the cause of my death. Not only death, it is becoming the cause of my birth and death again and again and again and again and again. At least this enemy, so-called physical bodily enemy, kills once. If this mind, which is not controlled, now who is the worst enemy? Somebody in this world, that one person, or our own mind uncontrolled? Yeah? You all follow me? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so that is why it's very important, Krishna says, to control the mind. And this material world is compared to an ocean. Yeah? And you see in the ocean, what is the first thing you see when you see an ocean?
Sharks.
Yes. What else? Yes, Aditesh Prabhu. Sand. Okay. Anything else? Water. Yeah. The waves. Yes. You know, although all are right answers, but usually the speaker is looking for what he wants to hear, right? So, waves. Yeah. The waves are going up and down, right? So, this material life is also like that. And consider the mind as a heavy weight. What happens when you are trying to go up and you have a heavy weight in the back? Is it going to help you go up or drag you down? Drag us down. So I'm trying to swim in the ocean, but the mind is so heavy with all these contaminations, it is dragging me down. Not just once, but again and again and again and again. Yeah? So, and it is the cause for the death of billions of my bodies. Yeah? So much suffering the mind is giving. And while living in this body also it's torturing me. At least one time I said it's better, this slow torture, everyday torture. Sometimes, when somebody gets very frustrated, what do we say? You rather kill me than this torture every day, right? Sometimes in relationships, or sometimes, we could say this, right? See, like that the mind is. So many ingenious ways the mind is torturing us. Huh? But Krishna says, the same mind, if it is engaged, not in sense gratification, but if it is engaged in service to Krishna, Krishnendriya Priti, then instead of getting bound, instead of being the cause for our death again and again and again, it can give us eternal happiness. It can be the cause, it can be the instrument for our eternal happiness. It becomes our friend. Yeah? So see, same mind which is the cause of so much torture, same mind, if properly used, can give eternal happiness. Yeah? In this material world, we may have very good friends. Yeah? At the most, they can help us some wealth, some other help once, twice. Can they give us eternal happiness? No. But the mind, if properly used, Atmaiva hi Atmano Bandhu. Yeah? So certainly, mind is our best friend. It is engaged in Krishna consciousness. Yeah? So, you all follow? Yeah? Okay. So in the next verse, now Krishna is saying, we can go a little deeper. We have time. Yeah. So, if you know how to control fire, yeah, you can do a lot of useful things. Same way, if you know how to control a knife, you can use it in better ways, right? Like the surgeon. Yeah? If you know how to control a car, you can use it in useful ways. Yeah, many useful ways. So the question is the fire, the knife, or the car our friend or our enemy?
Depends on how we use it.
Yes, depends on how we use it. If you know how to control the knife, then the knife can be our best friend. like a surgeon. He knows how to use the knife, he can save a life. But you put the same knife in the thief's hand, yeah, and fire also can cause a lot of devastation. But if you know how to control, then you can use it positively. A car, if I am under alcohol and I drive a car, what's going to happen? I was driving recently from Boston to Philadelphia. I don't know if it was last Sunday or the Sunday before. 1 second I got distracted. 1 second I got, and this happened few times. I just had returned from India and I was, jet lagged and still struggling. So I fell asleep, and 3 times I escaped a major accident. The point I'm trying to make is, if you are not in control of the car, the same car can hurt you. Yeah, like if you are under alcohol, yeah, I forget about controlling the car. I'm not in control of myself if I'm under alcohol, right? So how can I control the car? So the point here is, depends whether we can control or not. If you control the mind is our best friend. If not, it is our worst enemy. Yeah. So that's one other point. And but it's not easy, right? It's not at all easy. And we will read in the subsequent verses, or one of the words, Arjuna says to Krishna, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramati balavat dridam, tasyaham nigraham manye, vayo vasu dushkritam, right? It is very, Krishna, it's very difficult to control the mind. It's easier to control the wind than the mind. Arjuna says, it's pramati, balabhadra, it's obstinate, it's strong. Arjuna says. And of course, in the subsequent verse to that, Krishna explains how you could, but I'm not going to go there. The point here is that the mind, there's also this great English poet Milton. Yeah, Milton said, mind is a thing in itself. Mind is a thing in itself, makes hell out of heaven and heaven out of hell. Have you heard this before? Yeah. So they acknowledge, right, mind can really, if not properly used or controlled, even the point I was trying to make is even those who are not spiritually inclined people also understand that if it's not properly used, the mind can really cause a lot of harm. And that is the nature of the mind. Just like the nature of sugar is sweetness, right? The nature of the mind is accept or reject. Yeah? Sankalpa, vikalpa, manaha. Either accept or reject, right? If something is in favor of my sense gratification, mind says yes, 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 yes. If it is not, and mind says no, I don't want it. Yeah? So what should we do? The first and foremost thing, and this next few minutes, the focus is, how can we control the mind? Yeah, we'll focus on that. So the first and foremost thing is, when we see these sense objects, what should we do? Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter itself. One of the first instructions was, Matra sparsastu kaunteya, sitoshna. Yes, Prabhu. Yes. So what does Krishna say at the end of that verse? They arise from sense perception, right? O son of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate. So Krishna says one must learn to tolerate the urges of the senses. Yeah. This is a very important verse in the beginning. So the dualities are there. Yeah. So, and mind, the other thing I wanted to mention is mind is holding us all ransom, right? Like a terrorist. Usually, if you see, there's a beautiful picture in the Bhagavad Gita. Have you seen that picture with the 5 horses? With the 5, right?
Yeah.
So the senses are there. Then the ropes represent what? The ropes represent the topic for today. Mind. And the driver is the intelligence, and the passenger is the living entity, the soul. Yeah. So the Bhagavad Gita recommends that the intelligence should control the mind, right? But oftentimes what happens in most of our lives, the mind is controlling everything. Mind has like held hostage, How these terrorists, when they attack, they hold ransom. Give this, otherwise I'm not going to release all these passengers when they hijack a flight, right? Like that, our mind is controlling everything instead of the intelligence controlling the mind. And there are so many factors, I won't go into the details. So, the most important thing here is we need to, as I told, tolerate the urges, right? So, for that, we need to develop the willpower by determination. And one of the ways it comes is by chanting attentively. To chant attentively, because as I said, the soul is the passenger, intelligence is the driver, mind is the ropes, and the five forces in the senses, right? So our senses, when they come in contact with the sense object, everything goes to the mind. And the mind is the storehouse, right? That's why we say all the impressions, everything is there in the mind. If the mind is controlled by the intelligence, then we can control. Otherwise, we are at the dictations of the mind like the small kid. I remember when I don't give what my child wants, he's rolling on the floor. All the tantrums that he can think of, he's throwing at me. Right? If I give in, sometimes I give in. After 10-15 minutes, I give in. What does he think? This is what it takes to get what I want from my dad. But if I ignore his tantrums, twice, thrice, he's going to know that no way, my dad's mind is also like that. So most important thing is we have to make our intelligence, which is the driver, very strong. So how do we make our intelligence very strong?
Engaging in Krishna.
Intelligence.
Practice.
Knowledge, yes, through the scriptures. We need to learn to discriminate. This is good for my Krishna consciousness. This is not good for my Krishna consciousness. Right? So, by studying the scriptures, by regularly studying the scriptures, scrutinizingly studying the scriptures and hearing the scriptures. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter, the last verse, right? Tasmat Shastram Pramanante Karya Vyavastita. So know what to do, what not to do, how? Through the scriptures. So we need to scrutinizingly hear. Krishna says, and Prabhupada also writes in the Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, first text, purport. Anybody remembers what he says? Regularly hear. So we have to daily study and hear from the scriptures. Now this is for the intelligence, right? That's how we can control the mind. Now how do we purify the impurities in the mind?
Chanting the holy name.
Yes, chanting the holy name. Yes. And what else? Yes, Cheto Darpanamarjanam, right? It's compared to the mirror full of dust. So by cleaning, the mirror becomes clean. Yes, what else? Chanting, yes, of course, is one other thing. Yeah, all of them, yes. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. No, what is that? Shunvatham Swakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridayattasto Hi Abhadrani. Right? All the impurities that are there in the heart are washed away by hearing. Yes, hearing. Yeah. So, yes, of course, chanting, definitely first, but also hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita daily. Yeah. And how the senses, how to control the senses which are running in all directions.
By engaging in Krishna service.
Yeah, engage them in Krishna's service. So Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita itself. Have you seen a tortoise? You know how tender the head and the hands and legs of the tortoise are? You can just crush it just like that. The enemy can crush it. So what does it do when the enemy comes?
It puts it
It
inside.
withdraws its senses, right? And the head also. What does it show? The strong back. Nobody can do anything. So like that, it is explained that, when we are in Maya, we have to be like that tortoise to withdraw all our senses. And when we come to temple, we are in the association of devotees. And when there's an opportunity to serve, then open up all the senses. Yeah? And otherwise, withdraw them. Yeah? Engage all our senses in Krishna service, like Ambarish Maharaj did, which is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah? So, otherwise, we get into so much of depression, so many divorces, so many things happen, and primary reason is the mind. I was in Chicago, and I'll end with this. I was in Chicago several years ago for a conference. And I used to take some books with me, the small books with me, and this was a 3-day conference from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., 5 p.m. So I would come back, didn't have much to do. So I just took some books. I was a little close to downtown, not in downtown, but a few miles away. But still there were some of these tall buildings. Yeah, so I had some small books, and there was a nice place where a lot of people were visiting. So some people took books, most people did not take. And then I moved away from there to a cross street, and I came across a gentleman, and he was smoking, and he looked at me doing what I was doing. I was in street clothes. Was there's some pride. He looked down, and what are you doing? Is this what you are asking for donations here or something? Yeah. And I said, no, I'm just trying to show some books on yoga and meditation and how to deal with stress and anxiety. So in the beginning, he came across as a bit arrogant, maybe not, that's not the right word, but then slowly, he was just standing there smoking. After a few minutes, he opened up. I was talking to him, and then we had a conversation, and after some time, he opened up and he was in tears. Can you believe this? And he's a CEO of a company going through a bad divorce. And he said he was addicted to alcohol and smoking, which was part of the reason why his wife wanted to leave him. And he couldn't leave smoking and alcohol. And he was standing there for an appointment at 7:15 p.m. in the 6th floor or 7th floor of that building to meet with a psychiatrist. And then while leaving, he gave a $40 donation. And I told, you have been going for this therapy for 9 months. So rather than you being so stuck with your own, rigid way of, I can't give up this, I won't give up this, my wife is unreasonable. He was getting into this whole sort of discussion. But the point I'm trying to make is, you see, the Bhagavad Gita is a very practical solution. So many people are struggling. So much mental problems, so much depression, suicides. People have so much wealth. If you see Hollywood, the richest people end up. Why? Because they don't have control of the mind. So the Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to control the mind, and make it our best friend, so we can get eternal happiness. With that, I'll conclude. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, primarily for my own purification. And please correct. And we'll also continue with the Bhadra Purnima celebration, right? If there are no comments. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, yeah. Any comments, reflections, or questions?
The happiness that it derived from the material objects. That's not the true happiness. It's not everlasting. There's no happiness in this world which is eternal. It gives us pleasure for a while, but then after some time, the same thing, we feel that it's not worth pursuing it. The only true happiness is in the pursuit of the spiritual path, where we detach ourselves from the material objects. And this has to be done incrementally. It cannot be done overnight. I cannot say I can completely detach myself and then link myself with Krishna. It has to be done incrementally. The other thing is that the knowledge that we get, the spiritual knowledge that we get, is from the scriptures. But any knowledge is good only when we try to implement it. Implement is very important. Once we detach ourselves from the material objects, from the worldly things, and then automatically we get attached to the Supreme. We get the grace also of Krishna after we link ourselves with Krishna. That's my summary. Thank you.
As we discussed in the beginning, it's a simultaneous process. Yeah. As you said, yes, it's a gradual process. While we are engaging, it's also happening. Yeah. Okay, I don't want to wait. Thank you so much. We have a very important announcement for the Bhadra Purnima, and at 6:15 the Aarti starts. So you want to make sure there's enough time. I'm happy to answer anything afterwards, if that's okay. Right, Prabhu? Thank you. No, because we have a hard stop, so and this is important.
So let's give a big round of applause to His Grace Ronald. It's very tough to emulate such a wonderful lecture. So I hope that we can maintain the standard as well as the attention for the next 15 minutes. So one thing which Rana Prabhu said very clearly was regarding the scriptures. Studying scriptures regularly. That's a very important thing that is very important in Krishna consciousness. And the scripture that we are talking about, which is the topic of our next discussion, is Srimad Bhagavatam. And as you see right over there, you see a stand which says Srimad Bhagavatam display. Srimad Bhagavatam has 12 cantos, 18 books. And there's also a banner poster which says Save Earth Now. So what is Save Earth Now campaign? I will not talk and I will let the video talk. So then please let's look at a couple of videos and then we can come back and do a small announcement.
Volume 65.
Fortunately, I'm standing right next to Srila Prabhupada and Sasana. Srila Prabhupada denied the instruction of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, to spread Krishna consciousness all over the Western world and beyond. On the Jaladuta, on his way to America with no money and no support, he brought the Srimad Bhagavatam. He wrote in poetry on the Jaladuta that the only way that the world could be saved, how people could be brought to higher consciousness so that they could help themselves and help others as they really want to do, would be to distribute the transcendental vibration of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He quoted Tad Bhakti Sargo Janataka Viplavo. That is, the Srimad Bhagavatam is not from this world. It's a transcendental vibration from Goloka Vrindavan. It will touch the hearts of the people. It will solve their problems. Nothing else can do it. Now is the time for Bhadra Purnima, September 10th, 2022. We have a deadline to work towards. We want to distribute at least 43,000 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a 23% increase from last year. We can do this. It's only a matter of priority, and it's a matter of advocacy. Advocate for this. Tell people it's a good idea. And by the way, make a pledge. Something more than 0 and not less than 1. And as soon as you pledge that you're going to distribute a Srimad Bhagavatam set, you'll feel connected to the Parampara and to Srila Prabhupada, who made it his life and soul to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam to the world. Let's do this together, all over the world, as one world team. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
We are suffering on the physical plane, we are suffering on the mental platform, we are suffering in relationships, we are suffering with our egos being smashed in the spheres of life. Amidst all of this, there's only one hope, there's only one way. That is to study Srimad Bhagavatam, practice Srimad Bhagavatam, and share Srimad Bhagavatam with the world. Samsara sindhu mati dustara mukti tirusho, nanya plava bhagavata purushottamasya, leela katha rasa niseda namantarena. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Save Earth Now campaign has been described.
Saving the earth begins with saving every individual. And saving every individual means providing them resources to raise their consciousness.
Give Srimad Bhagavatam. When you give the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to somebody else on the full moon day in the month of Bhadra, you get the return gift of going back home back to Godhead.
One copy of Srimad Bhagavatam and one teacher of Srimad Bhagavatam is that rare a commodity and fortune in this material world.
We are showing what is possible. And we are humbly and submissively willing to offer that to help to solve some of the seemingly unsolvable problems in this world.
Prabhupada said, distributing my books pleases me like no other service. If you really want to please me, distribute my books.
Hare Krishna. So, I did not talk anything else about Bhadra Purnima. The importance of Bhadra Purnima in this ISKCON community. This started in 2019, 4 years ago, when ISKCON came together as one world team with a goal of around 20,000 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. 4 years from 2019, now that goal has gone up to 43,000. So you can imagine this has been a huge success. It's truly a one world team with all the temples, centers come together with one mission to save the world, to spread more peace and happiness. Our temple, Philadelphia, has also been a very active participant in this Bhadra campaign since 2019. We talked about making a pledge, anything greater than 0 and less than 1. So in 2019, Philadelphia had a pledge of around 13 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. This year, because of the huge encouragement and participation of the devotee congregation, we are looking for as a pledge of around 35 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. And as we are here, our temple is at around 30 sets, only 5 sets short. But we know that whenever there is whenever we are short of Srimad Bhagavatam sets or even Bhagavad Gita in the Gita Jayanti month, the temple congregation comes forward so that we can not only meet our goal, but we can smash our goal. So this is Bhadra Punya, and as you can see over there, this is all for you to take if you don't have a set. If you know your friends, neighbors, or colleagues, they are spiritually inclined and they would really appreciate from the scripture, please don't hesitate. It is only $260 here, and then if you have friends outside of your local area, we will take the responsibility of shipping it within the continental US. So the other thing that many of the devotees are doing is that they are also sending Srimad Bhagavatam to India. Here, that can also be delivered in India. Any part of India, as long as we have their name, their address, and their mobile number. So there are more ways by which we can give Srimad Bhagavatam, not only in the US, but also in India. These are available in multiple languages. We have in English, Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, and I know that I'm missing one. Gujarati. Thank you. So there are 6 languages in which this is available. If someone is interested in sending it to India, it's $165 for English and Gujarati, shipping all included, and then for the other languages it is $150. So we have forms where one can stop outside next to the table. There is a Srimad Bhagavatam table over here, and where we have the form, where what we need only is your name, whether you want to take the Srimad Bhagavatam for yourself or want to gift it. And if you want to gift it, then all the details are there in terms of the address and everything. So, please come forward, make it a huge success. It's not only for us. Philadelphia is for the God team, and most important, as Amrita Prabhu mentioned, distributing books to the Srimad Prabhupada. So, this is a service that we all it's all something that we can take. My Guru Maharaj, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu always says that ISKCON is a movement, and in a movement people move. When people move, they move out to pass on this transcendental knowledge, so that more people can benefit from Krishna consciousness. So please don't hesitate. Please stop by when after you go ahead. So that brings us right to 6:50. So now we will break for another round of ecstatic kirtan, and then after that we will break for prasadam. Any questions, comments, or reflections or criticisms? Does anyone want to sponsor? We know that there are a few people who texted yesterday that they would be happy to get a donated set. So would anyone like to sponsor here for someone who would really benefit from this Bhagavad Puran? Hari Bol. Thank you, Bol. Anyone else? If you feel shy, we can definitely talk outside. So, thank you, Prabhu.